Hi, I'm Larry the Bee. I'm Larry the Bee, the queen of this hive, and I'm doing an episode of Undercover Boss, just having a look around, seeing what's going on in my hive. So first we're gonna go through all the roles. We got the queen bee, which is me. And the queen bee. Their role is to make little bees, to make little small little fellas, little small little bees. She has another role that she sends off little pheromones, little signals to all of her little drone bees, all of her little bee friends, that tells them that she's still alive and healthy, still kicking good in the old heart, and that means they don't make another one. That means that they don't make two queens, because if there was two, it'd probably cause some problems in the hive. So that's what the queen bee does. That's my job. Then we got the drone bees. The drone bees' job is to make more kids with the queen. Okay. Okay. So the drone bees, they actually don't have a stinger. I'm pretty sure they don't have one of those things. They just got wings, and they make more children to help the hive and aid the hive. But a little fact about the drone bees for you is that sometimes if they're not doing their job, if they're not making the babies, sometimes they'll get kicked out. They'll get sent out of town. My job, if they're not doing what I want them to do, I'll go up to them and I'll be like, get out of here, buckaroo. Get out, scram, get out of town. And then because if he's not doing his job, I'm not gonna pay him. Hey guys, it's Larry from the future, because the old Larry didn't know how to talk about what worker bees did for some reason and just glazed over it really quickly. I hate that guy. Anyway, worker bees, what they're actually meant to do, other than what I said, is they forage for honey, which is the only thing I said, because that was a problem, because they actually guard the hive as well. They post up, make sure no ops like stick insects are hanging around, no grasshoppers. We don't mess with grasshoppers up in the Larry gang, and they also nurse the young. So they make sure all the eggs, all the larvae that we just learnt about, they're all kicking alive and healthy. They clean and build the hive. They make sure it's nice and clean and not have any bad things going on in the hive. I've been expecting you. We're here to go over Larry's slideshow. All about the life cycle of bees and all the things that make bee anatomy so great. First up, when you're first born, you are a bee egg. They look like little grains of rice, our bee eggs. There's one egg per little honeycomb cell. It takes about 3 days for the bee egg to hatch, and then you become a larvae. Booyah. You become a little maggot-looking white worm thing, still just chilling in there. You know, someone might come over and put a wax hat on you to stop you from breaking loose. Don't want anyone to break loose when they're a larva, because that's probably bad. And about 9 days later, wapow! You become a pupa. Oh yeah, that is when you start growing the wings, the legs, all the things that make you become a more bee-looking bee. And then, after the big 2 weeks is up, you become a bee. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Become a bee, full-fledged. You eat your way out of the wax and you start performing your job for the hive. Now I'll be asking, what parts of the bee are on now that he's fully grown? Like if you have another slide prepared. Oh my god! Well, we have now got the features of a bee. The bee is split into 3 different parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The head is probably the most important part, if we're being honest here. First up, we got the antennae. They're used for feeling things and touching things. Then we got the... Okay, now, the ocellus eye is an eye in the middle that helps you detect that helps bees balance themselves when they're flying. It's not very detailed, but it helps them know what's around them when they're moving fast, and they don't you need to use too much energy to know what's going on. Then we have the compound eye. That's the big fella right here. That one helps you with that one's the one that helps you see all the colors, helps you know what's going on with a more detailed look. You know, you really can figure everything out with the old compound eyes. Then you got the mandibles. That's for grabbing stuff and eating it. That's like for eating stuff. That's pretty much what they're for. You know, you got now another little thing. It isn't actually included on this diagram, but because I'm a bee myself, I actually do know about this one. The proboscis is a little thing, comes out in between the mandibles. You can put that one right in between the nectar into the flower, and you can drink up all the nectar with literal ease. It's never been easier since I invented the proboscis, because I did actually invent it.
Like a built-in straw.
Like a built-in straw. This guy gets it. Then we got the legs. Legs are for walking around, and they are they're not related to the wings, because the wings are for flying around and not walking. So what do you call a fly with no wings? Is a walk. Next, now also part of the legs are part of the thorax. They're not actually part of the head. I probably should have cleared that up before I moved on. But the legs are part of the thorax. Another thing part of the thorax, which is not labeled on the diagram, but again I do know because I'm very intelligent, is actually the small little part here, the wings. You can sometimes miss those if you're not too keen. They're for flying, as I said before. They're for like flying around, and they have some other uses with heating up the hive and creating some airflow through there. So that's really lovely to see from all my worker bees doing that one. Next we have the pollen basket. That's for when we use our little proboscises to get in and drink all the honey, drink all the nectar up. Our pollen baskets rub up on the flowers and get pollen up into the... Alright, next up, the stinger. The stinger is, that's for stinging things and all things sting related. You do have to be careful, because as a European honeybee, the way that we are, you can only sting one time. You got one in the chamber, and then you're donezo. And if you're not good, we're donezo. Spiracle is actually what bees use to breathe. They don't have lungs, so they just suck in air through these little holes that run up their sides, and they just suck all the air in, and they breathe like that because they're too good for normal breathing, just like they were too good for normal flying capabilities. And the spindle hair, that is just useful for pollination again. That's just helping know what's going on with the old pollen situation. And that's about all there is to know about bee anatomy.
Worker bees will fly in a 2 to 3 kilometer radius to get their nectar, but they can actually go as far as 10 kilometers if they're really hungry and if there's not that many flowers around. One single bee can visit anywhere from 50 to 1500 flowers to fill its little second bee stomach, depending on how many flowers it needs, how much nectar it needs. After its honey stomach is full, the bee might return back to the hive, and then it will actually regurgitate that nectar into another bee's mouth. They'll just keep doing this. They'll keep going through multiple bees, regurgitating it into each other's mouth, which actually adds enzymes to the honey because their stomach contains all these enzymes, and it just fills it up with the good stuff. And it also, because they're inside their body's hot, and it just reduces the water content in the honey, which makes it thicker, which helps it with antibacterial properties. And that's just really good to see from the bees. once it's pretty good, once it's been regurgitated enough times, they'll put it into a little hexagon store inside the hive, and then they can all the bees actually gather around it and flap their wings really fast, which will cause the air in the hive to move around, which will help reduce the amount of water in the honey, which makes it thicker. It just does all sorts of good stuff. Bees use the honey as food. They use it to feed their larvae. They eat it themselves. And it can actually take 2 weeks to 2 months to actually just make the honey from scratch. So from nectar in the flower all the way to edible honey can take a long time. Swoop it down, wobbly, wiggly, wobbly, wiggly, wobbly, wiggly, wobbly, wiggly, whoa. Swoop it down, wobbly, wiggly, wobbly, wiggly, wobbly, wiggly, wobbly, wiggly, whoa. Sweet. You guys are probably wondering where bees live. So we're going to go through a few examples of where the bees live, where all the good places are and where the bad places are, where to avoid. This is definitely a bad place for bees to live. There's no flowers around, there's no water, the rivers have run dry, and there's way too much sun, there's no shade. They're going to get very hot. This does not seem good for them. This place in the snow is also pretty bad. You see there's no flowers, don't really grow in the snow, so no food. Now this might look like a good place, a nice farm, but this farmer here is actually using pesticides, which when the bees go to get the nectar is actually just going to poison them, which is definitely not good for the bees. Yeah, so we're going to just get rid of the farmer. I don't really like him for using pesticides. And yeah, while we're at it, let's just get rid of the bees as well. This is probably not this definitely is not an optimal environment for bees to live in, covered in lava. It's probably not the greatest thing for them, but they'll figure it out. Now this is a great place for bees to live. As you can see, they've got a nice shade with that mountain and the trees to block them from the hot sun. They've got lovely flowers around, a nice water source. It's just a lovely view as well. You'd pay a lot of money to live there. You'd pay probably like $4 billion in bee rent if I was there.